What is the and asset? The and asset and infinite banking has less to do with the, investment of life insurance, and has everything to do with how you think, and the and component, and how being in control and being your own banker. It should be the foundation, and everybody that has their foundation in overfunded whole life insurance, they may be using their policy for other investments that aren't doing well, but their foundation is growing every single day. Always understand that investing in value is the key. Life insurance is not an investment. Ironically, it outperforms a lot of investments, but we can't legally call it an investment. It's a foundational, safe asset that doesn't make you have to choose between one or the other. It's an and conversation.
The efficiency of a savings account has absolutely nothing to do with interest or interest rates. It has everything to do with what you're depositing into it, how frequently you're depositing it into that account, and how long you leave it there for. Good evening to everyone who's tuning in from across Canada. We may even have some folks who are joining us from the United States of America, the land of the free, the home of the brave. It's good to be with you all. And Caleb's here, so we're going to get underway. This is going to be a lot of fun. So Caleb and I were touching base earlier, and we were just talking about, the importance of, reminding folks and assuring folks that whether you're implementing this process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, or whether you're just a participating dividend paying whole life policy owner, and that's part of your foundation for other things that you're doing financially in your lifetime. As it relates to that particular tool, volatility is not in your vocabulary. And we've been seeing a lot of red in the stock market. What's interesting is that all of the folks who were just shouting from the rooftops the past number of years that you could just do no wrong by investing in the stock market, either hadn't been through a massive correction or were simply naive. And what we want to address and talk about tonight is making sure that you've got a really strong foundation, making sure that you understand the premise behind the whole philosophy of the and asset and the importance of that, how it complements everything that we do, why cash value is king, why it's important that if you haven't had any boxing classes lately, that we're going to teach you how to punch inflation right in the face. Caleb, if you're here, I'm going to invite you to come in. And Caleb Guilliams is not only a dear friend, he's also a colleague in this journey that we've been on for so many years. He authored the book titled The And Asset. And then what we did is we decided that we were going to have a Canadian version of it. So we put a Canadian flag on the cover. And then we said, hey, this is co-authored by Caleb and Jayson. And I think I added a few paragraphs cumulatively to the book to Canadianize it. But all credit to Caleb. This is his body of work. This is his passion, his philosophy. And Caleb, as always, I'm super excited to be here with you. And I thought we shared a great conversation earlier because we always say, hey, we can just get on this thing and we can jam. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to leave some time for Q&A so people can interact and engage with us. And then I'm going to talk about something that's come up a couple of times here. And for me, 3 times is a revolution. When I hear something once, I go, oh, okay, that's interesting. When I hear it twice, well, my radar is up. And then I hear it 3 times, that's a revolution for me. And that's the question of, what if I'm uninsurable?
Oh, wow.
And so
Yeah.
I'm going to address that using a real example from R. Nelson Nash's book. Get a copy of R. Nelson Nash's book titled Becoming Your Own Banker. And with that, Caleb, welcome. Welcome to another episode.
What I love so much about what we're going to be talking about is it is so easy for Jayson and I to do the same old presentation over and over and over again. So if you're at all wondering, like, what is the and asset? Number one, there's a book that you should get. Okay, so don't leave this webinar not knowing about the book. Don't leave this webinar not knowing about other material. Both Jayson and I have a YouTube channel with a ton of content. I believe our first webinar that we did, I put a custom presentation for your whole group. And, not to pat myself on the back, but I thought it went really, really well. And that is available. And so one of the things I just want to let you all know is this time is to serve you. We're literally, like Jayson and I spoke this morning and we said, are you seeing what's happening in the market? Are you seeing what people are having questions? And like, I just want you to know that we want to be as relevant as possible, because the and asset and infinite banking has less to do with the, investment of life insurance, and has everything to do with how you think, and the and component, and how being in control and being your own banker. And so all these principles that we've been talking about, and sometimes, we talk when the market's at an all-time high and everyone's talking about Bitcoin and all this stuff, and that's great. We can have the same conversation on a night like tonight and not have to feel ashamed, because at the end of the day, the and asset, it should be the foundation, and everybody that has their foundation in overfunded whole life insurance is, they may be using their policy, Jayson, for other investments that aren't doing well, but their foundation is growing every single day.
Yeah, that's the key. I was just going to add to that, Caleb, because you inspired, a thought that had come up that I was sharing earlier throughout conversation that I've been having today. And this all begins with where you store your money before
That's right.
you invest capital, or before you take care of those things that you need to finance over the course of your lifetime. And, the families, the hardworking families that I've had the privilege of serving today, and that I have the privilege of serving every day, when you catch that, and you recognize that it's not an either or, hence the term, the and asset, it becomes an as well as.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to have a strong foundation here. And from that strong foundation, I'm going to go and set about to create the lifestyle that I want versus reacting to the one I have. And to achieving whatever those financial outcomes are that you desire.
It's amazing, and I want to share one thing with the audience before we take this conversation wherever we want to take this. So if you have a pen and paper, take it out, because I'm going to be sharing some brand new stuff that I think will resonate with a lot of people in this audience. So the number one question I have, and we get asked, is, what is the number one thing to inflation protect my investments, kind of deal? And that's like, a lot of people will ask that, and it's a common question, like, where should I invest my money? And while you're not going to hear me give you investment advice on this webinar, if we take a step back, what is the foundation of how we should be investing? It should be rooted in this thing called value creation. If you want to be inflation protected, if you want to be able to go in unknown waters, make sure you always have the lens for creating value. And this is very, very important, because it's like, what does that mean? It's the value is ultimately, there's a supply and demand. There's a demand for people that want your value. And so value can come in a service, it can come in a product. This could be you guys starting business, this could be investing in real estate, this could be investing in other companies. But at the end of the day, make sure that you understand the underlying value in what you're investing in. That alone will be a game changer for you. The people that get wealthy not only do that, they do what's called value leveraging. They invest in value, but they're able to amplify that value using what we call levers. There's a lot of different levers out there. One of my favorite levers is the and asset, because what you can do is you can be saving your money systematically, month in, month out. Save your money, have it be super foundational, safe, have it grow the rest of your life, have it protect your family, give you amazing options in the future. So many benefits to life insurance. And you have the ability to utilize leverage to invest in value. And that value might be rooted in raising family, might be in your family values. It could be in investing in real estate or business. But at the end of the day, if you understand the value creation that you're investing in, you're not worried at all with the volatility. Where a lot of people are panicking is they got greedy for when to do anything. I'll just leave out the specific investment. But at the end of the day, they're freaking out because they're like, oh, like, I actually don't know what Bay Street's underlying value is, like, if I'm being frank. Or like, I have some friends that love crypto and they're totally fine because they're in this for 10, 15, 20 years. They're seeing this as an opportunity. A lot of people, and we all know these people, put their life savings into crypto, didn't understand anything about it, and now they're freaking out. And I know someone personally that lost a ton, and they invested their money and they didn't understand the value creation, and they put their money and try to build on a sandbox rather than a solid foundation. And so I think number one is, let's always understand that investing in value is the key. Life insurance is not an investment. Ironically, it outperforms a lot of investments, but we can't legally call it an investment. It's a foundational, safe asset that doesn't make you have to choose between one or the other. It's an and conversation. And when you understand the and more than just saving your money and using it, but the and of saving your money, protecting your family, giving you options in the future, and multiplying it in value creation, it's kind of impossible to compare it to anything else out there. And so that's the thing that I've been telling a lot of our team members and our community is like, listen, no one should be panicking if we understand the underlying value. If you don't, let this be an amazing lesson going forward to make sure that you're only investing your time and money into things that you believe and you understand the value now and in the future.
Oh, that's such a great way of thinking. And I'll share with you that when the conversation comes up, since we're just on this topic of investing in stocks versus investing in the stock market are two completely different things. Now, I know that might sound a little bit strange when you first hear it, but let me give you an example. So when you have ready access to capital, okay, so you've got a policy, you have a system of policies, you've been building up what we refer to as an aquarium of value. This is money. It's cash value. It's accumulating every single day without interruption. And an opportunity of high caliber tracks you down. And I don't mean that it tracked you down at the water cooler at the office, or it tracked you down as you were tuned into CNBC watching, Kramer do his lightning round. I'm talking about an opportunity that tracks you down where you've got preferred terms.
Correct.
Hey, there's this little company called XYZ. It's in profit. It's been operating for the past decade. It's about to go public in the next 18 months. We're going to give you preferred access to a bucket of shares. You'll be paid out first before anyone else in the general public. And the shares are going to launch at $1,000 each, and we're going to sell a bucket of them to you for $750. And so when people only look at the surface level, the stock ticker, and they hear some euphoria or enthusiasm about a particular stock, they really don't understand that a lot of manipulation has gone into the deal before you ever even knew that it was going to see the light of day. And those are the types of opportunities that track me down.
Yeah.
And so when people say, well, gosh, don't you put your money in stocks? I say, I do put capital in stocks, but not the stock market.
Yeah.
I get engaged in these deals long before they become deals for the general public. I just want people to just think about that for a second, because and I was just sharing this with a family shortly before the call. You could do no wrong talking about the market the past number of years. And then just when you thought you had it mastered, you realized yet again that you're being toyed with. If you don't truly understand what's going on. And again, we're not here tonight to talk about what you should do in the way of investing your money. It's just important that to know that with a strong foundation, you can get through times like these with a lot less stress, a lot less anxiety, a lot less uneasiness about the future and what it looks like. And for clients of ours and yours, Caleb, who have been warehousing money inside of their system of policies, they're not calling you saying that they're upset that their cash values keep going up every day while the stock market's going in the opposite direction. In fact, they're quite relieved. Yeah. That's the feedback that we get. Hey, we heard you say it. Now we're experiencing it. Oh my goodness, are we ever relieved that our money's residing inside of this tool? And we not only co-own the company that issued it, but we also co-own the lender. When we need capital, we co-own the company that's lending it to us. What a perfect position to be in. That's why throughout all of these financial crises over the years, pick any one, doesn't matter. Go all the way back to 1920, even sooner than that, 1915. And I want you to think of any financial crisis that's happened from 1915 to 2022. Not one life insurance company became insolvent or shuttered its doors during any of those crises. They remain the most financially solvent institutions on the planet. It's not a coincidence. They don't just happen to be in the lucky sector of financial services. Hey, we're going to open up in the lucky sector so we never run into, any problems. The outcome is engineered year after year, decade after decade, and in the case of the United States, century after century, and in the case of Canada, the past 176, soon to be 177 consecutive years in a row. Where do you want your capital to reside before you finance the things that you need in life, before you make decisions about putting capital to work in the form of an investment. Because from this very place, boy, you sure create a very peaceful, stress-free way of life. Isn't that good?
It's amazing. It's interesting, Jayson. Two things that I've written down. You know what they call people that invest in businesses before IPO? Investment bankers. Like that's where you go to raise money. And so it's interesting because it's like when you're becoming your own banker, can we get a T-shirt that says I'm an investment banker? Like I don't know. I think we need that. And
Yeah,
I want a T-shirt. The other scenario that I just want to let run by is the stock market or Bay Street will go up and will go down. What's interesting is a lot of times when it goes down, it gets people to wake up, which I love. But the market historically will go back up, kind of deal. It'll do that roller coaster. The bigger problem is people don't even know why they're in the market to begin with, and they don't understand the result that the market's giving them. So
Right.
it's like it's hard for me to have this conversation when it just seems like it can do no wrong, and people are like, "Well, I'm making 8% and all this stuff," but you can't spend a rate of return. So tell me how you're going to utilize this rate of return, the Bay Street. How is that going to translate into cash flow? Because retirement planning should be called future cash flow planning, and
that is lifestyle.
Yeah, that's the real root of the issue. Is what is the actual goal for future cash flow? And Wall Street and Bay Street and what you call the stock market is a very poor way to get our money out. Because it's easy for someone to say, well, it's easy for you guys to say this now. It's like, no, when the market's been all time, I'm still saying, hey guys, like, what is the game plan? What is the game plan? Because it's so easy to be seduced by like a rate of return. And what I love is now that we're seeing it go down, it's like, oh, maybe this is why we have the thing called the 2.5%, the 3% rule. And it's a really inefficient way to get our money. And so these are two things that just come up that I just want to articulate. Really, really get clear on what results you want from your financial tools. And that should ultimately highlight where you should be putting your money and how you should be using your money throughout your life.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point. And I can go back to the last financial crisis. And I remember sitting down with a lot of people who, like, we went through a lot of boxes of Kleenex, who were very upset in 2008. We were not and are not in the money business. We don't recommend stocks or anything like that. These were people that were exposed to the message, the process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, many of whom remarked, I knew there was something out there that I was looking for, and I think this is really it. And I'm sick and tired of taking it on the chin when I think things are going remarkably well, and then market manipulation can take it all away from me in an instant. This isn't a fear-mongering webinar. This is a face reality webinar. And facing reality, the more willing you are to do that, and the more radically transparent we are with you, then once you understand the problem, the solution becomes clear and you know exactly what to do. And we have so many existing clients, and we have folks who have never owned a dividend paying participating whole life insurance policy. This is their first exposure. And so let's shift from all of that noise and let's shift into creating that strong foundation and the whole essence behind the and asset.
I want to point something out. Someone asked about 77 years versus 177 years. It's 177,
Yeah,
correct?
That's correct. You got it. Yeah.
Jayson, what would be helpful? Where do we start from a standpoint of like, should we start with the story? Should we start with the how to start a life insurance policy? Should we start with the characteristics?
Let's talk about the problem.
Okay.
Right. We've addressed the problem as it relates to not being in a position of control.
Yep. All day long, there are so many issues. Probably one of the biggest issues that I see, Jayson, is people are not thinking with the end in mind, and we call them like the money babysitters. They're just money's all over the place. Their money's not working for them. They have a lack of control, and they're not getting their money to actually flow to what they truly want. And that's a huge issue. And then you have volatility, and I see that these over leverage. We see this all the time. A lot of times over leverage is #greed. We're like, we want something fast, and we're not investing in fundamental values. We're sending our money away. Yeah, 100%. It's like Bay Street and Wall Street and the banks are incentivizing us to put money in their system, and they're giving us benefits, and yet we sometimes devalue paying ourselves first. And so, yeah, I mean, the problem, I mean, Nelson said it the best, the headwinds.
Mhm.
We have so many life and financial headwinds hitting us. How in the world do people stand up? And so it's a lot of times, and then Bay Street will say, well, you just need a rate of return. You just need to get a better rate of return. How's that working out right now?
Who's got all your money? You're earning an income. So you're a business owner, your business earns revenue. And that's the very place that you go to for your income to take care of your family. That's the very place that your employees go to for their income to take care of their family. You're a W-2 in the United States or a T4 income earner here in Canada. You get up every day, you work hard, you earn an income. Well, that money is directly deposited onto the books of someone else's bank. And then you begin the process of transferring it all away. And you repeat that cycle. And then you wake up one morning and say, gosh, I certainly hope and pray I've put enough away in order to enjoy my golden years, retirement. And retirement puts you in a position where you stop moving mentally, you stop moving physically, you become low-hanging fruit for a force called gravity that wants to pull you right back into the ground.
That's 100% right.
And so we have to really change, first and foremost, the way that we think. But that begins once we develop a deeper understanding of the problem. Because once we all are calibrated on that, the solution of implementing this process not only is clear, but it also informs your why. Like, why are you doing this? Versus the noise that's out there, Caleb, all over the place. Hey, I heard a little bit about becoming your own banker. Can you just show me a policy illustration? I want to know if I should buy something from you. Let's just take a step back for 1 second. And before I decide whether or not I'm buying into a relationship with you, long before you decide whether or not you're buying a product from me, there's a bridge we have to cross over. And that bridge starts at the problem, and the crossover is at the solution. And everyone that you see out there on the internet, on the YouTubes, on the Instagrammies, the tweeters, whatever it is, they feel that the only way to get attention is to start with product first, problem and solution second. And that'll not only set you up for a very unstable relationship with a client, but it also just makes you a commodity.
Correct.
Like, I didn't name the business Commodity Financial.
Right. That might still be available,
Ascendant.
by the way. Yeah.
Because we want people to ascend on their life journey. This whole thing called life, where it just so happens we need money to make our worlds go round. Well, we want you to keep more of it. We want to keep taxes away from it. Once you're ready to move into solution mode,
right?
Well, you need a tool, and then you need someone who's experienced with using the tool to show you how to use it.
Right.
Because I was speaking to just an awesome family earlier before this call, farming family, lovely people, amazing people. I've only met with them 2 times, and they're just an amazing group of people. And you can just tell when a family's well-valued, well-natured, understands and recognizes the value in a hard day's work and isn't afraid to set out to do that, and just is so well-intentioned. Like, here are the reasons why. That's what they led with. Here are the reasons why we want to do this. And that, to me, means that I'm attracting the people that I most love to serve, because that's the message that I'm communicating. I want to repel as quickly as possible people who just want to buy something. You couldn't separate yourself from me fast enough, because we're going to be like oil and water right from the get-go. But for a family like that, that's just a perfect match. Like, it aligns with values. It aligns with my why and how I want to be of service to others. And it aligns with my teammates, who I have a duty to protect and care for and support, and, help them achieve abundance in their lives too. Isn't that good?
It's incredible. And it's where we start as well. We have a workshop coming up next week for our clients in Denver. And we start with the framework, which includes the problem. And then our second session is all about what we call the living why. Some people call it the living will. We have a whole session that's like, let's create a living why. And it's work. And what's cool is at the end of day 2, we have a time of sharing like biggest takeaways and commitments. 3/4 of the people mention the commitments and the ahas from that one section. We didn't talk about one financial metric. We didn't talk about one financial product, but yet their eyes were open to say, oh my goodness, this whole thing has been a lie. I now understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. And this is going to become my filter, my measuring stick to figuring out what I should do with my life.
Yeah.
And when you have that, when you understand the problem and you understand that there's a bigger reason to live, the financial strategy stuff is simple, quite frankly, when you understand those two things. If you don't, then yeah, it's who's got the more sexier paper kind of deal. And it's just a sad reality, but majority of America and Canada are in that mindset.
No, so true. And that deal that you're putting on, is that the same deal that I'm speaking at, or is that a different deal?
Different. You're going to be keynoting at our And Asset 2-day event. We're having that June 24th and 25th, and the one and only Lowe is going to be speaking there. And that's I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be incredible.
I'm so pumped for that. It's not even funny. And so Debrina asked a question, can you do that workshop here online? So there's going to be a number of workshops coming, including the family banking, our whole framework and methodology around that and how we coach clients. And there are plenty of events coming, and we'll keep our whole database informed. And I'll also say for Henry Wong, one of our teammates, Henry Wong, the man, the myth, the authorized infinite banking practitioner and accountant. That's a 1-2 punch right there. That's just hand over the heavyweight title. So he's releasing a book titled Keep Taxes Away from Your Wealth. Isn't that a good title?
That's amazing. Very straightforward. I like that.
I have no idea who came up with that title, but it's just awesome. And it's going to be a great book. And I'm super excited for Henry. He's going to be a published author. I'm pretty pumped.
That's incredible, Henry. I can't wait to read it, and I want a signed copy, and I look forward to seeing that hit the Amazon world and others. So thank you.
All right. So where do we leave off? So we talked about the problem really at a surface level, right? You're doing all the work. Everyone else is getting all your money. We get that. Mm-hmm. We talked about the importance of establishing your why. And so what I would invite, I'd love for you to just take a moment and just capture your thoughts on the reason why you're either A, contemplating implementing this process in your life. So you're new to this. Why? Or you're already in process and you're revisiting that. You're thinking there, because I promise you, the more you feed something to your brain, sooner or later, your brain's going to buy it. And so be very, very careful what you feed it, because you control those 3 buckets: your past, your present, and your future. The good thing about building a future that's bigger than your past is you get to decide what to leave behind and what to bring with you into that bigger future. So just take a moment, define your why.
One way to really get clear on your why is, if money wasn't an issue at all, what would you spend your time doing?
That's excellent.
And if your gut says travel, I want to challenge you and say why. Like, okay, what about that? And so you assume you get the travel out of your system. Like, what will bring you fulfillment? This was going to sound horrible, but what will, when you're on your deathbed, when you look back, what will bring a smile to your face knowing that you lived a great life? If you can really get clear on that, the why is within that answer. Those are a couple things that get the juices flowing.
Thank you, Caleb. That's so good. And here's something that I was sharing earlier about generational wealth. You can transfer money to the next generation. The death benefit proceeds of the life insurance policy or your family system of policies, you will transfer wealth to the next generation. The question is, have you prepared everyone so that you're also transferring the wealth mentality and how to be a good steward of it? Because here's what happens. If you just envision this for a moment, you've got this ever increasing death benefit. Okay, Caleb, you know exactly what I'm describing. You've got a policy that is just continually increasing in paid up additions to the death benefit. You've been utilizing this aquarium of capital as collateral. You've been financing things in your life without interrupting any of that daily growth in that aquarium. And then one day death comes and you've got children, and the children have policies in place on their lives, but now they're adults. They're grown adults. They've had no interaction with you other than consenting earlier in life to having their lives insured. Outside of that, all they know is they're getting an inheritance. They received this tax-free windfall. They still have the policies on their own lives. The parents transferred them in contingent ownership. They knew the moment that they passed away, the kids would become the owners of those policies. Here's what's going to happen in that scenario. Death benefit proceeds will come in. The kids will pay off any outstanding debts that they have. They'll all get on to an airplane with first class tickets to Las Vegas or somewhere tropical or somewhere that they want to go and just get the grieving process off of their minds. They just want to forget about things for a while. Then they come back and somebody sits down and says, oh boy, I'm going through all the documentation and I see here that mom and dad, they've left insurance policies behind for all of us. What should we do with them? I don't think I really need it. These things have cash in them too. Somebody pick up the phone and call that advisor, that Caleb guy, and tell him we need him to get checks for us. We want to surrender these deals. And now all the money that mom and dad put into these policies, all the hard work that went into creating this aquarium, all the hard work that went into creating generational wealth was squandered in a real hurry. Yep. Scenario number 2, very same structure, but mom and dad have been coaching and educating the kids through the family banking methodology. The kids were already well prepared in advance because the parents said, listen, we've been using your policies as collateral, and we got a lot of death benefit coming that's going to pay off all the loans that we've taken against your policies. And so when we go, not only does the death benefit backfill all of your policies, yep, but now the residual death benefit that's left over creates a self-sustaining system. You get to pay the premiums on your policies for the rest of your lives, and you have a duty to transfer to the next generation the wealth mentality first, the money second. And your duty is to transfer at minimum everything that was left behind for you and everything that you spent before you died. That's your duty. Now you're creating generational wealth mentality. And so that's what we're talking about with our clients, because we love that you have that ambition of, I want to create generational wealth. I want to create a legacy. We're going to help you create generational wealth mentality. Then the money comes after that. The system becomes self-sustaining, but the system, right? People often think about is just a system of policies, money. I'm talking about the process, the system. Isn't that good?
It's amazing. It's incredible. And there's someone who wrote a question and she said, if this concept's so amazing, why aren't too many people know about it and talking about it?
You know, what I would say initially is that those who understand it are practicing it. Yep. And if you were to think about it from this perspective, if you were to take all of the money on the planet, now, Caleb, you would agree we have more money circulating on planet Earth today than we've ever had since the existence of mankind and money.
Yep.
And most of it was printed in the last 2.5 years.
Correct. Our government took it to the next level. Yes.
So did ours. And so if you take all that money and you distribute it evenly to every human being on planet Earth,
yep,
in about a decade, 97% of that wealth is going to be controlled by 3% of the population. And so if the minority of people in the world know how to attract capital and control it and get extremely wealthy while doing it, then why do we continue to do what the majority do financially? So I would challenge anyone who's asking that very same question to rethink your thinking. And the question should be, why am I doing what everyone else is doing financially? Why am I not doing what the minority who are accumulating and controlling all the wealth? And why am I not doing what the banks are already doing? If you go on to Google and you type in the words bank-owned life insurance, the acronym is BOLI. Commercial banks buy more dividend-paying participating whole life insurance than all their real estate assets combined. So they're either doing something that not very many people know about and getting really wealthy, or they know something that everyone in attendance here today may not know. Which one do you think it is? That's why we've been shouting this from the rooftops the past 14 years.
Here's what I would say, because the question's amazing, is do what they do, don't do what they say. And so think a couple things. Yeah, if you look at banks, corporations, and the ultra wealthy, they all have this part of their portfolio and as a foundational asset. So it's not like it's just like that's just a fact, okay? But more importantly, if you're a bank and you're Bay Street and you're Wall Street, What are you incentivized to do? You're incentivized to get as much money coming to you. Anything that is threatening, and so you're gonna think I'm contradicting myself. The reason why crypto is so threatening to a lot of politicians in Wall Street is it takes money out of Wall Street system, puts it into the crypto markets. That's why countries are literally banning it, okay? The same thing goes with permanent life insurance. And you put your money in whole life insurance with a dividend paying mutual company, guess who does not get to control that money or earn anything off your money? Wall Street and the banks. Well, not that I'm going to get super conspiracy here, but like who's controlling education, who's controlling the media, who's controlling a lot of where we're learning. And so that's a huge element. So just be really thoughtful. I'm not saying that all education's bad, all their intentions are bad. They're just smart. They're like, if everyone knew this, our business model wouldn't be so hot. So that's number one. So it's like, number one, banks, Wall Street, they're all doing this. Number two, there's the incentive potential issue. Those are two really big ones. And then number three, you get well-intentioned people on the radio and, gurus. And to be completely frank, if you're not working with someone that's doing this well, that's selling a product, not setting it up properly, not teaching you the mindset, life insurance is just another product that a lot of people are poorly using and don't understand. I mean, go on to TikTok for a day, okay? Like, you see some really crazy stuff of people that are life licensed that are telling you all these amazing things about life insurance. And I wrote a book on life insurance, and I want to literally crawl in a corner and start crying because of how bad they make our profession. So I just want you to know, like, I'm in a lot of people's corners, and I know a lot of well-intentioned people that on their channel, they'll say, don't do permanent life insurance, don't do permanent life insurance, because 95% of our industry, unfortunately, just will not make you better off for working with them. But behind the scenes, they're clients of ours, and they're like I'm not going to name any names, but there's a very public author who's a client of ours that in their book, they say, don't do permanent life insurance, and they're clients of ours. And they'll say, Caleb, if I get it, I just can't publicly say it because I've already gone too far. And to be honest, it's still majority of people will not do the right thing. And so that was their justification to say, I'm going to publicly say this is bad, but I'm going to work with you behind the scenes because it makes sense. There's nothing to argue. Those are like three things for you to maybe write down on, why aren't we hearing it? People are starting to talk about this more, but those are three big reasons of why we're just not hearing it, or there's a negative stigma of life insurance. Last thing I'll say, Jayson, you just get me going, is if anyone's telling you that life insurance is an investment and they're showing you all these amazing returns and it's going to triple, quadruple your income and all these things, just be very careful. And I say this with a person in mind, but there's a lot of people that are trying to, again, sell things, but they're not teaching you to become your own banker. The principles are not built around value. They're not doing the right thing. And so just be very careful and just know that this is not a foundation. It's a storehouse to save and use your money.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much, Caleb. And, people, what we express to them, it's so important that you catch this. And that was instilled in us by our late mentor, R. Nelson Nash, who often said, infinite banking concepts is more caught than it is taught. And so we can instill knowledge and awareness and bring attention to the process, but you have to catch it. And it's not meant to be done like what you're seeing in a lot of social media forums. You're seeing a lot of industry professionals that argue with each other, right? You've got the Wall Street professional who says, don't do that, put all your money in the stock market. And you've got the life insurance professional who says, don't do that, put all your money into life insurance. And then the boxing match starts happening. Well, the general public is reading this going, who's right? Wrong. What should I do? What shouldn't I do? And then you're led down this education path from the premise of argumentative. Let me argue the reasons why you should be doing this. We just don't do that. We just provide the knowledge and the resources, and you either catch it or you don't. And we realize that if you catch it, you may not decide to work with us, or more important, we may decide to not work with you. But if you decide to implement it, just make sure that you're working with someone who is an authorized infinite banking practitioner with the Nelson Nash Institute and who's experienced, someone who can tangibly show you how they're utilizing this process in their own lives. And if they're talking to you about putting $100,000 a year into a policy, they had better be doing that or more themselves. And after 14 years in this journey, which is really just it's like, you remember, Jim Carrey and what's that fellow in that movie when they were traveling from one part of the country to the other in Dumb and Dumber, and they're looking at the map and he's like, hey, we've only moved a couple of notches on the map, right? Like 14 years into this journey is just such a short period of time, but I'm the sum parts, and so are you, of everyone who's mentored us. And so we just, there has to be an understanding of the problem is what I'm trying to say. Now, here are the advantages. The list is long. So you store money inside of dividend paying participating whole life insurance contracts. You're getting contractually guaranteed daily accumulation. So every single day, someone at the insurance company walks up to your aquarium and drops a few more dollars in it every single day, like clockwork. And nobody can reach in there and steal anything out of that aquarium. Nobody from the government, nobody from the life insurance company, nobody from Wall Street, nobody from Bay Street. Nobody can go in there and encroach upon any of that. You co-own the company. The company engineers a surplus. They don't sit around the boardroom table at the beginning of the fiscal year going, can we just all take a moment and hope and pray that we have profit this year? They all sit around the boardroom table going, here's where we're going to land very conservatively by the end of the year because we've engineered this outcome. And then at the end of the year, they say, wow, geez, how did we do this year? Well, we did pretty good. We have more money than we used to operate the business, and that we used to pay out death benefits, and that we used to pay out group claims and so on. Okay, well, that's good. What are we going to do with it? Well, we're going to take a portion of it and set it aside in this continuing capital surplus reserve, this Mount Everest of money. And the person who needs to put all the gear on and climb up to the top of the summit and put more money on it is like, oh my God, I got to do this. I got to climb this. Yeah, you got to go up there and add more money to the reserves. And then the remaining portion gets distributed to all the co-owners of the company. And there's a big sign at the door to walk in and get your share that reads, no stockholders welcome here. Participating policy owners only. Come through this door, collect your portion of the surplus. And then we chunk it right back into the aquarium and we make everything bigger. And nobody from Revenue Canada is knocking on your door going, we understand you have some of this dividend paying participating whole life insurance and we want to tax the accrual. Oh, we can't do that. You're right. Sorry. See you later. Is your next door neighbor home? Right? Versus storing your money elsewhere and you have no control over the outcome. The insurance company contractually guarantees that your total cash value will match your total death benefit by age 100 in Canada and age 121 in the United States. Contractual guarantee. I like the word guarantee. It's warm. It's soothing. Yeah. I sleep well at night. Okay, so for people who are policyholders, if you live a long time, you're going to be a hero to your family. If you die early, you're going to be a hero to your family. You're going to shield your accumulation from taxes, and you're getting all of the contractual guarantees. How does that make you feel? And how does that align with your why? And believe it or not, Caleb, to be contrarian here for a second, okay? For some people, you know how they spell energy?
No.
Volatility.
Oh, interesting.
Some people get really energized by volatility. Okay.
I guess what's going on sale? You know, there's opportunities everywhere.
Yeah. And some people get really energized, that sadly, and I'm speaking from a place of caring. Yeah. Some people get energized by gambling. Yeah. There's a euphoria, there's a rush, there's a chemical reaction that happens. There's no gambling going on with your system of policies because you're not investing. You're a co-owner of a company that has never failed to engineer a surplus. How much capital do you want residing there? As much as possible. Isn't that good?
That's amazing. I have a question just for the audience. I have a business coach that said, Caleb, if you could not fail, if you knew you could not fail, what would you do?
Skydive without a parachute.
Really? I guess fail is a very relative, but yes, it's one of those things where it's like a lot of people don't do things in life because they're afraid of failure. And I'm not saying that having a life insurance policy solves that, but you for sure will have a legacy regardless of what happens. And so it's like, if you knew your financial life would not fail, what would you be doing? And if you really want to make that a reality, have life insurance at the foundation. And someone asked about the growth in a policy, and that, I mean, I'm sure we could address that here or at a later private meeting.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's like, it's the tortoise every day. But if you want to become wealthy, if you want to up your game, you're going to become your own banker. You're going to utilize that cash and invest in value. So what is the value of getting your dollar to do 2 jobs rather than 1? No one asks about what's the rate of return long-term in their savings account, because their goal is not to have their money in their savings account long-term.
I got to say something about a savings account.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'd love for everybody on the webinar, just let me know if this lands with you. Efficiency in a savings account has absolutely nothing to do with interest or rates. I'll say that again. The efficiency of a savings account has absolutely nothing to do with interest or interest rates. It has everything to do with what you're depositing into it, how frequently you're depositing it into that account, and how long you leave it there for. Because let's be honest, most people save little to nothing because of Parkinson's law. Their expenses are on constant lookout for more income. Your expenses are peeking through the window all the time going, is there any more income out there? And once they spot it, the expenses go right after that surplus income and they gobble it up. So I'll say that again. The efficiency of your savings account has nothing to do with the interest or the interest rate, interest in dollars or interest in percentages. It has everything to do with what you're depositing into it, how frequently you're depositing into it, and how long you leave it there for. And the money that is being saved inside of your dividend paying participating whole life insurance contracts never leaves your policy. So if you're depositing premium every year or every month, whatever frequency, and you're not stealing the peas, then you've got a remarkably efficient savings vehicle. And if you compare that against what all your peers are doing, talk on the Zoomers, because most people are still working remotely. So hop on to the Zoomers with all your teammates, your colleagues, and tell them that you're warehousing a lot of money in dividend paying participating whole life insurance policies. And they're going to say, you're doing what? Why is that? Okay, that's different. That's not what I'm doing. I'm putting my money into tax-free savings and to registered retirement savings plans. And I just bought all the penny stocks that John told us at the water cooler. He told me to buy a bunch of penny stocks last week and said I would make $3 billion if I put 4,000 into this investment. So whatever you're doing financially is measured against what everyone else is doing financially. And so if you think differently, because that's where everything begins, you understand the problem, the solution becomes clear, you'll know exactly what to do. Isn't that good?
It's amazing, man. I was going to say that there's a lot more penny stocks available now than there were a couple of weeks ago. So
No kidding.
Yeah, everything that you said is spot on. I love it.
Here's the deal. Money must reside somewhere.
Yeah.
It just has to. And we know the banking system is just a mess, for just a lack of better description. It's just a total disaster. And we still need the use of commercial banks. That's how we get money moving from point A to point B in very short order when you're transacting things.
Right.
But remember, if you had requested a policy loan to achieve that thing that you wanted to buy, you're not using your money, or your money is still inside your savings vehicle. None of it leaves. And then when you pay yourself back, with a little more interest than what your company calls for, you make that aquarium just a little bit bigger. And I personally, it's never been brought to my attention anything stupid about doing that. Vern, are you with us tonight? Vern is awesome too, by the way. Vern, also one of the best infinite banking practitioners in North America.
Oh, you're too kind, Jayson. You're too kind. It's all about what I surround myself with, man. I am fantastic. Good to see you, Caleb.
And then, hey, for everybody on the webinar, stay tuned, because I am gonna, for everybody who likes the numbers, I'm gonna hit a few numbers here.
Right.
I'm gonna do the what if I'm not insurable deal. So stick around for that if you want to see some numbers and either A, give yourself a headache, or B, get really excited about it if that's what you enjoy looking at.
Lowe, can you show people where they can go to get the webinar? Because there's some people asking, where do I get the And Asset, book and webinar? Is there an easy place for people to go?
Definitely go to andasset.ca. Again, that's andasset.ca. Just ease on over there. And when you get there, just click the buttons and you'll be able to get the book. You'll be able to get the webinar. You'll be able to get dinner on Caleb. I'm just kidding.
Let's see here. This is a good one, Jayson, because we're talking about what if I'm not insurable? Is there an age limit to start this?
That's a really good question. Let's presume the person asking the question is also going to be the person who is the proposed life insured, because you don't have to be the life that is insured to own a policy. You just have to have a beneficial interest in someone that you want to insure, including yourself. I think I have a beneficial interest in myself. I hope so. Maybe some days I don't, but okay. So 85 years young, that is if you're celebrating your 86th birthday, unfortunately, you cannot insure your own life using a dividend paying participating whole life insurance contract. But if you have not yet celebrated your 85th birthday, you have an opportunity.
And if you haven't got to your 15th day on planet Earth yet, then you won't be eligible for a policy yet. But as soon as you get to that 15th day, let's get that application in.
Definitely. And if we have anyone on the webinar who's 15 days old, and our marketing is working really, really well.
I just recorded a YouTube video, Jayson, with one of my clients and one of the youngest infinite banking practitioners out there, 6-month-old baby. So that'll be pretty cool to pop up on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be probably a little difficult to understand, but I'm sure it'd be great. And probably really upset about the formula shortage right now too. Probably had a few things to say about that.
What if the family is stubborn and they don't realize how special this is?
You know, again, this message, this process is more caught than it is taught. And I will say to you from firsthand experience that, you know, over the past 14 years that having served thousands of people across Canada, that I've run into situations like that where initially folks in the family didn't grasp it or just weren't ready to rethink their thinking. And we have, a mantra inside of our team, Vern, as you know, we never give up on a prospective client ever. And until that person says, I'm never going to be interested, I'm never going to rethink my thinking, don't even contemplate talking to me again, because we don't pressure or bother anybody. And we have people that reach out to us all the time, who say, yeah, my brother talked to me about this concept 4 years ago, and I just really wasn't ready for it at that time. I wasn't receptive. I was skeptical. Then I got my hands on a copy of the book. My brother insisted that I read it, and something resonated with me, and I've got some questions. And my response is always the same. Thank you for connecting. Why now? And having questions is a good thing, because those questions are only going to get you closer to clarity on whether or not this is something you want to do, or validate that this is something you don't want to do. Regardless of what the outcome is, as long as you leave happy, that's okay.
Jayson, if I could just add to that quickly, I spoke to somebody about 2 hours ago who said, hey, you know what? I've been watching a family member and a very close friend of mine implement this process. I respect them. They're doing really well. I'm ready to go. So your behavior too will have an influence on the people around you, the people that love you. They'll see what you're up to, and that'll influence.
Yeah. Well, and I would add to that, Vern, to say that now with people spending so much more time learning on YouTube. And so Caleb can attest to this. You know, we've both placed a very high degree of focus and priority on content creation and uploading that content to the YouTubes. You can go to Caleb's YouTube channels. He's got Better Wealth. You've also got an End Asset YouTube channel as well. And then we've got Banker's Vault, Wealth Without Bay Street. There is no shortage of resources to immerse yourself in. And you don't have to rely upon hours of operation of Better Wealth or hours of operation of Ascendant Financial. All you have to rely upon is an internet connection. And you can access this content 24/7. We're pumping out 2 YouTube videos a day to our YouTube channel. And people are reaching out to us saying, I feel like I know you because I've watched 642 videos over the last 3 days. I'm really happy to have an opportunity to connect with you, and I'm ready to go. So anyhow.
Do we have time for a couple more, Jayson? There's a couple.
Yeah. And then I'm going to do that example. So for all you numbers people where your brain is like, you're just ready, your head's ready to burst because you're just waiting to see numbers, I'm going to get to you in a second. Go ahead.
Why capitalization is so important.
Are we talking about capitalizing the policy? Okay. So one example that Jayson, you used is like a lot of people that are saving their money are taking it out and not paying themselves back. And so even if, and this is going to sound crazy, but just imagine all the money that you've saved. If you just held on to it you'd have a lot of money left over. And in some of you, like all of you, would be like, I bet I would have more money now than I would in my, fun little investments. And so capitalization, a lot of times, if you ask me, like, what is the most negative thing about life insurance versus a savings account, is in the first couple of years, there's a little less money in the life insurance policy than in a savings account. And so when we talk about capitalizing, one of the things that is a fundamental principle is really committing to saying, and Jayson, you've said this about 10 times on the webinar, but aquarium is like one of the examples that we actually have in the And Asset book is the penny doubling a day. And it's one of those things where you're getting to day 20 and you're sweating, but after day 30, it's like you made the right decision. When we talk about capitalizing your policy, over the next 30 years, if you put the same amount of money into whole life insurance versus your savings account, it's not even close. It's not even close. It is an insane difference. And so it'd be easy to say, I would like the life insurance, over the savings account, but you have to have the discipline to say, I'm going to capitalize my policy. My policy that I've started has not broken even yet. Okay. I don't care about break even because I am funding my policy and my dollars are going to grow the rest of my life. I have almost $10 million of death benefit, and I'm able to utilize my capital today while it continues to grow. So if I were to look at it in the first couple of years and say, well, I would be better off putting my money in a savings account, that would cost me like $3.5 million over my lifetime. It's important to know the pros and cons. But at the end of the day, if people like ask me like, what's the big con to funding life insurance versus doing it the traditional way, it really comes down to the first couple of years, you're going to have a little less money, and that's it. I mean, you still have death benefit. You can still use your capital while it continues to grow. But more importantly, you're creating a system that's going to work for you till the day that you die, and create a max effect when you do die, that the next generation will get a lot more money. And so it's like from day one, you have it all. And so if that doesn't make sense, I would encourage you to really understand that. But if you're someone that's like, I don't care about that, I want max amount of money today, and I don't care about the future, and I don't care about legacy, the strategy is not for you. And I'll say that sincerely, but this is not for everyone. And look around, majority of people in my country and in your country, like, they just don't have the discipline to do this well. And life insurance is not going to solve their problems. The change of mindset will. When their mindset changes, they realize that capitalizing assets that are going to work and assets that are going to work the rest of their life is the biggest no-brainer. So I don't know if that was an answer to the question, but a lot of times, especially entrepreneurs, investors, that's like a common question that comes up. And when they understand the multidimensional aspect of a life insurance, not just today, but in the future, it doesn't become an issue anymore.
Really well said. Jayson, I got one more that I'd love to give to you if you're open to that.
Oh, of course. Yeah, bring it on.
How does infinite banking simplify estate planning?
If you're storing money inside of these policies, remember the total cash value matches the total death benefit at age 100. And if you live past age 100, the policy just keeps growing and doesn't need any more premium. And so if you can put your money inside of an instrument that's contractually guaranteed to grow every single day, when dividends are declared, which they are each year, they can never be repossessed or lose value. You get to access capital in your retirement years without triggering any taxable events. So tax rates could go up to 80%. It wouldn't matter to you. How much more simplified does it get? And all you got to do is pay the premium. Sounds simple to me.
Jayson, when it comes to everybody, I'm even talking Dave Ramsey, they will all agree, because you can't deny this, that life insurance is the most efficient asset to pass on to the next generation.
Right.
Hands down. Like, everyone will agree with that. Where they'll disagree is like, oh, like, you don't need to put permanent insurance, like, you don't need to be saving your money. That's where they'll disagree. But it's like, if infinite banking sounds like that's attractive, and the and asset concept sounds attractive, and you understand getting your dollars doing more than one thing, and it's all amazing, just know that you've already checked the box the moment that you get this set up, that your estate plan will be better than it was before you got it set up. That's one of those things where a lot of us don't make decisions today based on like our estate plan, but if we're thinking multi-generational, it should go into that equation. And life insurance is by far the most efficient way to pass on money to the next generation.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Very well said.
Thanks, Jayson. You mentioned numbers and everybody's ears just popped up. So I think everybody's pretty excited about that.
And what I want to talk about real quick before just, diving into that, if I can just share my screen here real quick, we're going to talk about just punching inflation right in the face. And so what I mean when I say that is a policy that I was referencing when I did my family banking talk. I was speaking actually at an event in the United States a couple of weeks ago, and there were hundreds of people there. And I referenced this policy, and this policy was put into place back in 2012, $20,000 a year going into this policy. And when I paid the premium, the last premium of $20,000, the cash value increase was $28,000. So what would that be? That's 40% more than the premium I deposited that year.
Yes.
And so that didn't happen because I only deposited $20,000 into the policy last year. It happened because I created all that financial energy leading up to that point where the milestone occurred, and there's no turning back now. In all simplicity, if I approached Vern and I said, Vern, I've got a check for $28,000 for you. I just need you to give me a check for 20. Like, I don't know how much more accurate of an uppercut that is to inflation, but that'll punch you right in the face. And so this happens because what Nelson describes in his book on page 15, when he talks about, I want you at seaside with a pot of water. I want you to heat that water up to 210 degrees Fahrenheit. That's paying the premium. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, you're heating up that pot of water. All you've got at 210 degrees is a pot of really hot water. But once it achieves 212 degrees, now you've created live steam. And there's a lot of energy that goes into it up to the boiling point, but then the dramatic power comes on suddenly. That's what's happening in the policy, that one policy of 63 that we have in our family banking system now. But what I want to do with everybody is I want you to go to page 82 in Nelson Nash's book titled Becoming Your Own Banker. Okay, so on page 82, the question is, what if I'm uninsurable? And what Nelson describes is he says, hey, listen, we've got a situation where we have a father, he's 50 years old, and he's uninsurable or highly rated, meaning if he's uninsurable, he's not able to get a policy where he's the life insured. Now, he can own a policy on someone that he has a beneficial interest in, which in this case, he chose to place the policy on the life of his 22-year-old daughter. So he wants to provide passive income at his age 70 for the balance of his lifetime. Okay, so he wants to create a system where he can create passive income. And in this case, he needed about $2,300 a month additional on top of his existing sources of retirement income. Now, mother agrees that this is a worthy goal. She's about the same age as her husband, and they have a 23-year-old daughter, Jill, who's in excellent health. So they decide to put $20,000 per year into a policy on Jill. They do this for 20 years, and the father is now age 70. At this point, they decide to cease the premium payments and start drawing passive income in the amount of $28,500 a year. I'm not talking about policy loans here, folks. I'm talking about withdrawals. They're actually stripping money out of the policy. 15 years later, the father's 85. He's drawn out the cash values. He has no cost basis. If he's still living and wants to continue receiving tax-free income, he can simply switch to policy loans, which in the United States are income tax-free. And in Canada, they're income tax-free up to the cost basis. And anything above that triggers a taxable gain. But if you repay some or all of the loan, you receive a corresponding income tax deduction dollar for dollar. And if you don't want to pay any tax at all, then we collaterally assign the policy and the bank will give you the money tax-free. Everybody good. Now assume that he dies at age 85. And we're going to assume the same thing. We're just going to recreate the illustration. And the reason I want to recreate it is because this book was written in 2000. It's now 2022. So I just want you to see what's possible in 2022 if we were to just replicate the same deal. Now, remember, the father is not life insurable. Everybody remembers that, yeah? Recreated the very same policy design. We have 20,000 going into the policy. Tell me 20,000 per year for a period of 20 years is how much? How much money went into the policy?
400,000.
You got it. We've got 565,000 of cash value that's piled up, and we have a death benefit of 2,286,000. Now the father begins withdrawing no policy loans, withdrawing $28,500 every single year for 14 years. In the 14th year, he actually takes $29,500. Did the father get all $400,000 back?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay. He dies, sadly. Now, how much cash value is in the policy when he died?
Wow. 813,574.
And what's the total death benefit?
North of 2 million.
But he's not the life that was insured. His daughter is the life that was insured. Agreed?
That's right.
Does this not seem like an insurance benefit that he's left behind? Who paid the premium?
Dad.
Who got all the capital back?
Dad.
And assuming that he dies, note that the cash value of the policy is $813,574. This sounds like life insurance on dad, doesn't it?
Sure does. I'm glad you said that.
Father paid the premium for 20 years, then withdrew every dollar paid out on a tax-free basis and delivered $813,574 to his daughter tax-free. And she doesn't pay a dime in additional premium for the rest of her lifetime. Let's see how this works out for her. Because when her father passed away, she is 56. Now let's see what happens with her, because she doesn't access policy loans either. We get her down to her age, in this case, starting at age 70. How much money does she start withdrawing? Not borrowing, withdrawing every single year, Vern?
Wow, $100,000.
$100,000. And how many years does she do that for? Do you want to know?
I'd love to.
Because remember, she's paying no premium. You see this zero column right here? This policy was paid up at year 20. She couldn't pay more premium even if she wanted to. So she gets access to $100,000 every single year. We've got 3, 8, 10, 13, 14, 16, 18, 20 for 21 years. How much money is that?
2.1 million.
She dies. She's 90 years young when she died. She left behind how much money income tax free to the next generation?
Wow, 1,100,000.
Is that more than 2 times the amount that her father put into the policy?
That death benefit alone, yeah. 2.5 times.
I want you to think about something. During that entire period of time, she could have been utilizing the cash values as collateral to finance cars, property, and anything that her imagination would allow. If she follows the principles taught in the book, Becoming Your Own Banker, the results would be much greater than depicted in this illustration that you're looking at, because I'm showing withdrawals here. There's no policy loans going on. And so if she had implemented the process, all the results would be much better than what you see in this illustration, but they're already pretty good.
It's an understatement of a lifetime right there.
Now, I'm using a Shure mic, so I'm not going to drop it. This mic costs, like, Caleb, you got the same microphone. Don't drop that one either. These things cost a small fortune. But guess how it was paid for?
A policy loan.
Isn't that good?
Jayson, what you did such a good job just like taking that same scenario and showing real numbers. And I think what's interesting is like during that whole time it was painful because I'm like, they weren't banking. They were like the traditional family. And yet that this is why when Garrett Gunderson in the what the Rockefeller says is even if you have a dud in the family, it will replenish the trust. And it's just one of those things where you get life insurance at the foundation, it's game over. And so I appreciate you sharing this.
Yeah, thank you, Caleb, for saying that, because if both father and daughter had implemented the process, not only could she have estate planned it so that all the money that was ever paid in premium came back, but she could have estate planned it so that all the money she spent in her retirement years came back to the family as well. It would all come back on a tax-free basis. Revenue Canada comes knocking after she dies, and there's nobody home. There's nobody home. Isn't that good?
It's incredible, and it totally suffocates that if you're not insurable. It's a perfect example.
I just wish that everyone on this webinar would have known what a joy it was to spend so much time with our Nelson Nash and the things that he taught. And I promise you that when you read that example, the first few times you went through the book, you didn't pick up on anything that I just shared with you because your brain went to the numbers. Your brain went to the illustration. It took me a few reads to get it. This concept, the process of becoming your own banker, has absolutely nothing to do with life insurance. It has everything to do with who the banker is in your life today. It has everything to do, and it's all a matter of where your capital is flowing to and who it's being put to work for and for how long.
This is kind of a personal situation question, Jayson, but I think still maybe you can add a little perspective here. Should we insure our retired parents who are in their 70s, or should we have them take policies out on us? We are in our 30s.
I would say that question is best answered in a one-on-one meet with your coach. If you don't have one, then you would have received correspondence through enrolling in tonight's webinar, and you'll be connected with the right person on our team. And so it just requires a little bit more of an expanded discussion and then formulation of a recommendation. Once we make sure that we're clear, there's a lot more to that financial picture. And so that would be my best recommendation. The short answer is neither one is the wrong answer. Neither option is wrong. It's about which one is best suited to achieve the desired outcome. That's it.
How did the daughter control the policy? Well, she owned the policy, right? Upon dad's passing.
Yeah. So what dad did is he put the policy in place as the premium payer and the policy owner. He set it up so the policy could not receive any more premium after the 20th year, which is not something we would do or recommend. And he named her as a contingent owner so that the moment he passed away, she automatically became the owner of the insurance contract. And he left behind to her an asset that could never go down in value. It could only grow in value. That sounds a lot like what happens with an insurance death benefit if you do the right thing when you receive the benefit. So the whole teaching point is that whether you're insurable or not is less important than implementing the process, which is less important than, if you decide that you want to put a policy in place. If you're just doing it to buy a life insurance contract, you're still going to come out okay, even if you did the withdrawals like dad did and like what his daughter did. If they would have just implemented the process, oh my God, the output would have been a multiple better, like way better.
And to your point, Jayson, when you first started the example, I didn't realize it was a 20-pay policy, because I was going to say, the daughter could, flip the switch and keep putting premium in. And all that would do is just enhance everything. Keep putting fuel in. The fire is just going to burn hotter and brighter. Going to create more.
Precisely. All of our advisors are authorized infinite banking practitioners with the Nelson Nash Institute. And all of our team members, every single one of them, practice this process in their lives. And so you would not be speaking to any one of the 43 people that are tied to our organization that are not practicing this in their own lives. That's called congruence. That's called coming from a place of authenticity and integrity. You would not be talking to anybody on our team who doesn't do this in their own lives.
It's awesome.
It's good. Okay.
You crushed it.
Appreciate you guys. And for everybody on the webinar, you made the right decision to spend your valuable time with here this evening. But I'll tell you, the enthusiasm is going to dry up and my jokes won't be that funny when you wake up tomorrow morning. Connect with the right person on our team. Schedule a time. Get together. Even if you're already an existing policy owner, if you weren't inspired to expand your program, then I'm not sure what it is we can say or do that would help you receive that inspiration. Get together with your coach, talk to your coach, even if you're already a policy owner. There's always room to expand and grow your program. And if you're brand new, have that discovery call. It's included with the webinar. Don't bring any money. Nobody's going to ask you for any. But if you want a ball cap, Caleb said he'll send you one. You just got to get in your address. Okay. Appreciate you, everybody. Have a great night.